Okay, so if you'd like to contribute to the Yeoman generator for Alfresco, you're going to come to GitHub. Of course, you can just clone the project and just run all of this on your own environment. You're going to need to make sure that you have the right version of Java and Maven and Node.js and Yeoman installed. So basically, we have kind of a quick start for contributing to the generator. And the way that works is you come to our GitHub project, which is my account, Bindu Wavell. The project is generator-alfresco. Scroll down to the bottom, and you'll see we have a link to CodeEnvy. This will actually spin up a development project for you that has a clone of the project from GitHub. Now, the way I have it set up right now, you will need to create an account at CodeEnvy if you don't have one. Creating an account is free. You get 20 gigabyte hours of execution time, which, at least for reasonable contribution, should be plenty. If you're going to be doing a lot of development, you may want to pull this local or, consider signing up for an account with these guys. So this basically is pulling down the project, it's setting up runners, setting a whole bunch of stuff up. For right now, I haven't figured out how to do this step automatically. So all you do is just accept the blank project configuration. Since we don't need compilers, everything's going to be in our runner. So you can see this is basically the project from GitHub, and you can make edits here and then issue pull requests directly. If we come to the Runners tab and just kick off the runner, I'm not sure why I have to click that in the top right. Okay. Sorry, I just wasn't expecting those standard error messages. They look like they're probably okay. So this basically, if the runner instance where this is executing doesn't already have our Docker image, it's going to download, about a gig worth of Docker image that has all of the community Maven dependencies for 5.0D in it. It has Java and Maven appropriate versions. It has Node and Yeoman installed. And what this runner is going to do is it actually links the source code in from the project. So if we make code changes, they'll show up in our runner. We have a running project here. If we look in the application folder, you can see essentially it mirrors our project structure. And, if we cat to-do dot application to-do.md, you can see that there's certain stuff there. If I make an edit to that file in the editor, edit, notice that they're doing automatic saving. I didn't have to do anything there. If I rerun that cat, the edit is going to show up. And since this is not compiled stuff, we have a nice workflow here where we can essentially edit the code for the generator, and then we can, for example, go into the application directory and npm test, make sure that all of our tests are running. The tests are actually here. If you are adding or changing anything, I do recommend making sure you have test coverage. That'll be something we'll consider as part of, when we're evaluating a pull request. So let's that's kind of one part of how we would do this. We make a code change, we'd write some tests, we'd run our tests. But also, we could actually make a directory, and we can actually use the runner. So Yo Alfresco, part of what our runner does is it automatically links the Alfresco generator source code into Yeoman, so you can actually try it out. So you can see here, we're going to have the generator. I'll go and make a change to this welcome to Alfresco message just to kind of show you what a development workflow might be like a little bit. Let's see, where is that? Here we go. Edited. And again, it's going to auto-save for us. We'll just Control-C in the terminal window and rerun. And now we can see edited. I'm going to go through and just accept the defaults. Do keep in mind, if you select enterprise, the generator will work, but then if you actually try to run the generated project, you'll need to make sure that you put in a settings.xml with your credentials for the artifacts.alfresco.com. So that's really only available to people who have a license for enterprise. Also, keep in mind, if you select enterprise, I don't have the Maven dependencies for enterprise on this VM. I'm not allowed to redistribute those. So that will take a long time. It takes about 30 minutes. Basically have this project here. I can use, call the run script, and it's actually going to spin up an instance of Alfresco. While that's starting, and it will take a while, I'll show you a little tip. Basically, if we come to the Properties tab for our runner, you can see there's this mapping. Port 8080 is mapped to 54759, and you can see there's a link down here to runnerp.codenvcorp.com 54759. So once Alfresco has started, we can click on that link, and it will actually open a tab that lets us interact with the running Alfresco, which is pretty cool. So you can, make sure everything's working at a deeper level, not just the generator, but that the generated project can actually run. There's this other port, 4200, that's being mapped. And it's also going to be on this same runner. This is where the Docker container is executing. And 4200 is actually, there's this embedded shell in a box, which allows you to basically have a terminal running inside of a web application. So what we can do, if we click on this link and then we change the port to 52545, come here and we go to 52545, we'll get essentially a full tab, not full screen, but a full tab shell. And this is not just we don't have the same shell now in our IDE and here. There's two separate shells running against the same Docker image. So if we do ps -ef, not sure why I can't type in here. Try refreshing. Okay. Basically, you can see our other shell is executing run.sh still, so Alfresco is still starting. We have a shell here. We can go into the application directory. Okay, something weird is going on, I think caused by the screen recording software. So we'll just kind of let that tab go. But you can see here, Alfresco is coming up. I don't know how close it is to running. That's the embedded test server, so we have a ways to go. It's building the database. Keep in mind, this is essentially a brand fresh install of Alfresco, just as normal with the SDK all-in-one archetype. We're using the H2 database, and it has to basically set the whole schema up. So this initial run does take quite a while, even though we have, for community at least, we have all the Maven assets there. still has to do all the overlaying, and then it actually spins up and it has to set up the database schema and everything. So let's, I don't think there's much more I want to talk about. Basically you can make edits here. You can come to the Git tab and you can actually commit your changes. And then if you want to send a pull request with your changes, you can actually come to this pull request tab and it'll kind of walk you through the process of creating a pull request for us. Again, I do recommend, if you are making changes or adding things, that you make sure that you have test coverage. That'll definitely make it more likely that we'll accept a contribution if there are tests. And I say that we do have some very partial sub-generators for AMP, remove samples, and WebScript. We actually have another one, I think, for actions that hasn't been merged into master yet. Honestly, those don't have tests right now. They're not ready for prime time. That's some of the key stuff we're going to be working on. But also we'll have sub-generators for workflows, potentially other just kind of repetitive tasks that we run into while doing Alfresco development. Okay, so it looks like maybe Alfresco is up and running. So there's the Tomcat, and we'll just go to share. So this is kind of pretty much end-to-end development experience, ability to contribute to our project, all in the cloud. And I should mention I'm doing this screencast on a Chromebook, so I have very little memory, very little disk, and all of this is essentially running in the cloud and being orchestrated by GitHub, Docker Hub, and CodeEnvy, and it's kind of all tied together with that that link we had on our project page to spin up a project factory. I guess share is sure taking a while to start. Let's see if we have any. Okay. Oh, it said it was starting on 8080. It wasn't actually started. So Tomcat is up and running and giving us links to things, but share and Alfresco, we're not totally running it. Okay, so default user admin. Go ahead and log in. And generally, it seems like share, the very, very first time that you hit it, it's building caches or something. Maybe it's compiling JSPs. I'm not really sure. It is slow, but then I'll go ahead, once we get logged in, I'll log out and log back in and show you that this is, it's not as painfully slow as it appears to be. It's just kind of general, hey, we're spinning stuff up. It takes a while for everything to get primed. It may be that share came up before the repo and that we're still waiting for the repo to start. Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay, so we have Alfresco, we have share. We can go look at the repository page. This is a standard vanilla community setup we have going here. Again, this is all a little slow the first time through, so we'll hit the repository page here, and then we're going to log out and just log back in again and see if it doesn't run a little faster. Okay, so admin, and log in. Okay, so still not super fast, but pretty bearable. And of course, if you have a nice beefy machine to do your development on, you can put this out there, set this whole environment up yourself from scratch, and it will be faster. But this is definitely a nice way to get up and running pretty quickly, make some quick edits, contributions, and get them pushed back to us. So with that, the way that we're charged, you get these 20 gigabyte hours for runners and builders on CodeEnvy for free. So I'm going to just make sure and shut down my runner just so I'm not using up any of my extra time, since I don't need that to be running anymore. And of course this won't work anymore because that Docker image is dead. So yeah, thank you very much for your time. And I hope you enjoy this project and maybe find something cool to add to it. Thank you so much.